What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Team Pause channel, where we're going to be covering Gardevoir EX at the NAIC. This was played by so many people, right? It caught on so fast. I was happy I had already started planning on doing the Twilight Masquerade format last month, and I already peeped out this deck as well. So many people were enjoying it in Japan. But let's talk about it. Let's cover some of the basic concepts, explaining how it is different from some of the other deck archetypes that are already out there, and discuss some strategies that we would be using to manipulate the game a little bit. So, key cards and combos, right? Just to quickly explain, like, the Pokemon. This deck actually runs kind of a lot of Pokemon, but Gardevoir is gonna be the catalyst, right? The faster you get the Gardevoir out, the easier the game is, right? The faster you get the Gardevoir out, the easier the game is. The only thing you have to be careful of is putting out the Gardevoir too early, and then it gets bossed forward or counter-catchered by something, and they kill off the Gardevoir, right? So that's probably like the only thing you kind of really have to worry about when you start getting into things like matchups and strategizing. So for the most part, you'll leave the Kirlia on the board, and you'll just kind of protect it with Manaphy, right? That's kind of like the goal, right? So the protectors of the deck, it would be like Mimikyu and Manaphy. Mimikyu and Manaphy should keep the Kirlias safe long enough for you to get to Gardevoir. Hopefully, in the time that you're using the two Guardians, right, the Kirlia will have discarded enough energies into the discard pile so that you can power up main attackers Screamtail and Drifloon, right? Now, you also have a backup card to get energy into the discard pile with Radiant Greninja. The only downside to using Radiant Greninja on the bench is that you're not trying to, with the energies that you're running, you're not trying to attack with Radiant Greninja's Moonlight Shuriken. So he can take up a bench slot if you kind of like misread it, or if you kind of have to just use your judgment. If you have two Kirlias in play, you don't really need Radiant Greninja to take up a slot, right? If I have two Kirlias in play, I really don't need Radiant Greninja to take up a slot. He's more like in case of emergencies, right? If I pull him first, or he just was the only basic that I had in my hand at the time, and I need to start discarding energy, and I don't have a Kirlia set up, then Greninja makes a lot of sense, right? Other than that, right? With the introduction of Munkidori into this as well, you'll also be moving some of the damage counters around. And this is more of a situational kind of move, right? Because that's why we played like the one darkness energy, right? That's why we play the one dark energy is for Munkidori. Now, this is very situational because you have to be careful, because Screamtail and Drifloon are doing damage based off of the damage counters that are on them, right? So you have to be very selective with removing damage counters from a Pokemon when it already has energy attached to it. So you're really only healing with Munkidori to heal like Gardevoir or Kirlia, right? That's the only time you're like healing, right? I wouldn't even say you play Cresselia. Cresselia is very situational as well. Munkidori is situational. Like, you could put this down. This isn't a waste of a bench slot. You could put this down, but I would say like Greninja, Cresselia, Flutter Mane, super situational. Like, you don't need to have these in play, like hogging up the bench slots. This is just like a in case moment. Now, another one that you'll see that you'll play from time to time, like I'll put him on the bench just to swap into him so that I can use the ability swap back out. That's kind of the only reason I really play him. I haven't found like a real use for this other than that, right? Maybe I really need a supporter. right? Because this does play a couple of supporters, right? Especially Arven. Arven would be like the key supporter that you need in this deck format. That's what we're playing for. And once you have the Arven, you pretty much set up for TM Evo. Sometimes you might need Earthen Vessel. But for the majority, right, you're using it for Bravery Charm and Cape, right? That's why I need Arven for the majority of the times. Other than that, if I'm not trying to get a Bravery Charm or a Cape, right, I'm getting a ball. I'm getting a ball, or I'm getting a Buddy Poffin, or I'm getting Earthen Vessel. It just depends on what I need at that time. Do I need more energy? All right, let's get the Earthen Vessel. Do I not have any Ralts in play? Then I probably need the Buddy Poffin so that I could start getting the Ralts in play, bump up to Kirlia, get some energy in the discard pile. And then once I'm ready, I got enough energy in the discard pile, we'll finally play Gardevoir. That way this stays a single prizer, not a two prizer in case they want to knock it out. And I could power up the main attackers. Right. So as long as you keep that in mind, the deck is pretty simplified, right? Careful, right? When we start getting into deck building tips and strategies, the Scream Tail is fine, right? But Arven allows you to pull all the tools out of the decks that's necessary, right? And Vessel is necessary to push energy to the discard pile along with Kirlia. So as long as you use Kirlia and Earthen Vessel simultaneously, or Radiant Greninja and Earthen Vessel simultaneously, right, you'll be able to get enough energy where you need it to be. Try not to discard the one dark energy, because you do need that for Munkidori, and you can't even use it with Gardevoir's ability. Gardevoir's ability will only move psychic energies, so don't even discard this unless you like are in a super emergency and you just have to discard something and you have the perfect hand and you don't want to get rid of anything. Most people are playing Unfair Stamp. You can play whichever ace spec card that you like. Most of them work with this like deck setup, but for the majority, most people are playing Unfair Stamp because you do have a lot of single prizers. They do tend to get knocked out. So it's very easy to mess up the other player's hand. That way that you stay ahead. Try to dwindle your hand before you play this. Try to dwindle your hand down to like 2 or 3 cards, and you're like, okay, I don't really need these, and then destroy the opponent's hand with Unfair Stamp. That's really what it's for. It's just another way to slow the game down alongside Mimikyu, right? It's just another way to slow the game down, because everybody's usually playing EXs and Vs anyway. They don't really have basics that can take out Mimikyu like in one swing. If they do, it does take a couple energies to power them up. So Mimikyu is fine. Mimikyu will stall for you as long as you play him. Try not to attach any of the bravery charms, like when we get to like matchup analysis and some of the, like when you start playing like some of the current deck versions, it's gonna be very tempting to want to like put a charm on Mimikyu, but try to refrain from doing so, because it's okay if Mimikyu dies. It's okay if Mimikyu dies. He's a stall card. You can always ride him back, right? You can always ride him back along with your primary attackers. So you're try to save the charms and the cape specifically for Scream Tail and Drifloon. I know that you're like, man, if I just power up Mimikyu, like he won't die because everybody's using EX and Vs and I could just keep throwing 70 damage. But eventually they'll find a workaround, they'll find a boss, they'll find something. And then instead of one-shotting a 2-prizer with Drifloon and Scream Tail, you'll have Mimikyu who's capped out at 70. So just, if you can help it, try not to place a charm on Mimikyu. Try not to do it. Unless it's just super crucial. You're like, this makes a lot of sense. But for most situations, it doesn't make sense. when you guys start exploring like the strengths and weaknesses of the deck archetypes against things like Charizard, Lugia, PAL, like this works great against PAL in my opinion. All you have to do is worry about the Baxcaliburs, but you can usually take out, like if they swap to the Baxcalibur, you probably could still Screamtail a bench Pokemon. Like it's not that difficult. There's usually something in play, right? Or I could counter catcher a boss back forward the PAL and hit it with Drifloon, and now he's got 3 energies stuck on the Baxcalibur. Things like that. Like you'll find out which one you should play, right? And then if you're like, man, I need another Screamtail, like I gotta hit the bench again. That's what the Super Rod's for, right? Just a couple of advanced tactics and play tips. Like not every Drifloon is more for taking out like the Pokemon in an active slot, and Screamtail is more like when they're trying to hide Pokemon on the bench, or if they're or if they have like some type of generator on the bench that generates energy, allows them to draw a card, Pidgeots, Miraidons, things of that nature. Anything that's just sitting on the bench to like help them get items and other key cards for their deck to work. That's kind of what Screamtail is for. You go ahead and take that out, and then if Screamtail doesn't hit hard enough, let's say you can only put a charm on it and you're only swinging for like a 200, but the enemy has like 220 or something, then this is when you start thinking about like the Munkidori swing. You're like, oh, it's okay. I have enough damage. Screamtail did enough damage for me to use Munkidori's ability, and I can still take out the active slot. So that's really 3 prizes, right? You're going to get it back on the back end. You know what I'm saying? When you start getting into like more just a couple of play tips to create like advantageous board states and disrupt the opponent's strategies. This is something that I would probably do. Like I would probably use Screamtail, hit the bench. Maybe it doesn't hit hard enough, depending on if I had the charm or the cape. And then Screamtail gets knocked out, but you still have Munkidori ready to go. Like Munkidori could just heal and move the damage counter, and you still make it. You still make the kill, and you get to swing on the active. So you take out 2 things at once. That's going to disrupt a lot of energies, especially if they're playing Charizard. That's a lot of energies he just wasted. And so you'll be ahead on the prize count. Expect when you play Gardevoir to be behind on the prize count initially. Usually I'm in like a 5-6 state off the rip, but it allows you to use counter catcher, right? So that's not bad. And then once you get to the 5-4 realm, that's when you start thinking and picking. You're like, okay, do I need to attack the active or do I need to attack the bench? Is he hiding something from me? Okay, then Screamtail it is, right? But so far I like this deck. It's okay. It has its hiccups. You know what I mean? Like there's some games where I don't feel like I get the correct draws, and I feel like it's if you miscalculate the Drifloon or the Screamtail, or maybe he gets some of your energy stuck on the bench, that can pose a problem and kind of shut the deck down. Getting energy stuck on your bench is what you want to avoid at all costs. They should be on the active Pokemon, and the active Pokemon should get killed. You should expect the active Pokemon to get killed. It only has like 30 HP left anyway. It should get killed. And then once it gets knocked out, you get to reuse those energies. You don't want the energies to be locked onto the bench, if that makes sense. But other than that, stay tuned, for more videos and exciting news. I'll be having something special brewing for you guys. Exclusive guides and deck tests dropping later this week. Pretty much every day. I got plenty of them scheduled out already. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't miss out on any of the action so I can help you guys elevate your skills as part of the pack. Peace.